Okay, we are back, and let me turn on my soldering iron. Forgot to do that just a second ago. So what we're going to do now is we're going to desolder this temporary wire that I attached just so I can see if this thing works after the little bit of work that I did on it. And indeed it does. And I tried to get this thing apart so that I could properly replace the wiring. But of course, it's a piece of crap. It doesn't come apart well. And so we're just kind of stuck with using this same crappy bit of wire on here. But we're going to try to improve upon it as it is a little bit. And we'll solder our new wire onto the end of this old wire that got cut off. I'm suspecting by a homeless person because they seem to do that. And I tell you, I would really wish the price of copper would drop, because life would get a lot easier for people who value the usefulness of copper but not so much the value, monetary value of copper. Copper being worth money is ridiculous. I mean, not because it's worthless, but because it prompts people to do things that are ridiculous. So, I don't know. I mean, I understand the plight of the homeless man, and they certainly deserve to, have a decent living and make money from their efforts, but I mean, come on. Even homeless people could recognize this vacuum cleaner as being something that is considered valuable. And instead of just cutting off what is probably $1 or $2, 1 or 200 yen worth of wire, just unclog it and sell the thing for $500, right? 50,000 yen or something. The homeless person who cut this wire would have done much better to just grab this thing, pull the garbage out of the tube, and then try to sell it to like a recycling center, or not a recycling center like you would imagine, like a recycled goods store, like a Goodwill or something, right? Would have made a whole lot more money. Maybe I need to do like an outreach program and teach homeless people how to properly upcycle things or repair things, and then maybe we'll have less garbage on the streets and less nice electronics being thrown away because their cable has been cut off. It's a frustrating situation. Let's just leave it at that. Alright, so I have my nice little bag of goodies here. This is all heat shrink tubing. This is the larger stuff that we have. I think this clear one probably is going to be able to fit over this properly and shrink down to what we need it to be. Yes. So there's a split pretty far down in there, just before it gets to the area where the spindle kind of causes the wire to bend, I guess is a good way to describe it. I'm becoming convinced that the spindle is the reason that this sheathing on this wire is split to begin with, and so I'm looking for like a place that I can probably grind down or file or something, but there's really just a small seam that my thumbnail can even basically smooth out, so I really don't know why this insulation on this wire split, unless it was just constantly pulled in the opposite direction of its intended, well, I wouldn't say intended even at this point, but okay, so here we go. We're getting it on there. Repairing things is fun. And especially when you get a successful repair, you're quite proud of everything that you've done and having prevented something from going to a landfill. But it can also be extremely frustrating as when you open things up and you see how terribly they're designed. If you are a conservative person, libertarian, or whatever, and you think that corporations are people and blah 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 blah, then you might not think that this is terribly designed, and that's okay. That's just the way you see things, and the way I see things is that this is terribly designed because you can't open it basically without breaking it, and it's just a difference of opinion, and it's okay to have differences of opinion. But for me personally, I think this is terrible. But okay, the heat shrink is shrinking, as it should. And luckily this is a fairly high melting point plastic compared to the heat shrink, and so we're not having any trouble with it deforming while we're blowing our hot air into there to shrink our heat shrink over the weakest point in the insulation. But I don't want to hold it over any one spot too long, just in case, because things will typically disappoint you. And I'm seeing now a little bit of black plastic transfer between the housing that this wire is in and the heat shrink itself, and so definitely I've reached a temperature that is undesirable. So let's just turn that off and call it done, because it seems like all the heat shrink is more or less sufficiently shrunk around our insulation. And yes, it still is not like perfectly seamed together, but it does also seem like it's going to more or less resist too much more tearing, which is what we were going for. It'll probably tear more. I very much expect it to, but that's probably not a problem for us. Okay, I've got the wire on the bottom here more or less twisted back to its original twisting. That last twist might be the perfect amount. Let's not twist it any more than that. Let's just figure out where this goes back in. Okay, this fits like this. There we go. Now here we have our white and our black wires. Let's look at our new cabling. And we also have black and white. Let's see. Can you see everything here? I haven't looked at my camera really much lately. I hate to have everything out of frame while I'm working on it. Let me see if I can quick maneuver my camera a bit better than what it is. How's that looking? That looks alright. Let's keep it there for now. Alright. Now, stripping wires such as this is a little bit annoying, because the really thick insulation requires that you really kind of cut into it. But, and because from the end you can see where you need to cut into it the most. So let's, this side a bit more, flip around, this side also a bit more, and these sides a bit less. Now let's just pull on it a bit, because insulation tends to pull apart fairly easily if you've got it scored. And that seems to be alright. I don't see our insulation on the inner wires is cut at all. So that's good. Now, my strippers are here somewhere. I do mean wire strippers, unfortunately. And, alright, this is a 2, if I remember correctly. Alright, looks good. Let's give it a little bit more. That's better. And the same for here. That needs a little bit more. It's looking nice. Alright, that'll do it. Strip, twist, and tin. STT. Alright, looks good. Let's tin those up. Let's move this out of the way. Oh hell, what did I just do? I just rubbed my hot soldering iron against something and there was a little bit of smoke that escaped, but it was definitely a power wire plugged into my power strip here, but I don't see where it melted anything, so it must have been very, very fast. That's lucky. Alright. Can we see here? Okay. Looks like we can. If not, it's alright. I'm just tinning. I need to turn on my little fume extractor here because that is stinky. There we go. Alright. That probably blocks your view. I'm sorry. That's much better. It doesn't all go through the extractor, but at least it's not going into my face. More or less the point of the extractor, so we're good. Alright. Those are warm. As I've described in other videos, but perhaps not this one, when applying heat shrink, the thing to do is to make sure that your heat shrink, first of all, fits over the wire that you're trying to shrink, and it might. Let's just see if we can push our wire through there. Nope. Okay, so the 2 gauge, 2 millimeter is not big enough. I'm a little bit afraid this 4 millimeters too big. Let me see if I have some 3, because I think that would be best. That's not 3. That's way smaller than 2. Alright, I think I have some 3 just on the other side of the room. Let me have a quick look, and I'll be right back. Okay, I do not. I have some 8 and I have some more 2. So we will use 4, even though 4 is a little bit big. It's better to have something than nothing. Although electric tape might actually be a little bit better at this point. But I don't see my electric tape here. I thought it was here. But I'm not a big fan of electric tape, to be honest, when it comes to insulating things. I use it in a pinch, but I don't like to use it because it tends to get squishy and yucky, and it tends to just fall right off with age. The adhesive they use on that stuff is garbage, to be honest. So we're going to use the 4 gauge, and we'll just clip off a little bit. Not soldering a very large joint here. So it looks like about like an inch, 2 to 3 millimeters. And let's since I have more area stripped on this side than on this side. We're gonna slide it over on the longer side, although it's very similar. It's negligible. And now that I see it, I have a feeling that this area is going to start shrinking before it's supposed to, but it might be okay simply because it's also probably thicker than it's supposed to be. So let's just try to solder this together quick. I'll keep my fingers over the heat shrink, and in an effort to prevent it from shrinking, that the heat will hopefully go into my fingers, which sounds like a terrible thing, but I'm also thinking it may not be that much heat. Maybe, I hope. Is my iron heated up? Because I'm feeling slow amounts of heat coming through, not the fast heat like I was hoping. All right, let's try this again, and fingers over the heat shrink if possible. Come on, come on, it hurts, it burns. Oh God, it hurts. Let's put a little bit more solder on one of these ends so that it'll heat up faster. Alright, I got a big old blob on there right now. That's ideal, I think, for such a occasion. Alright, big old blob on the other side as well. Come on. Extractor, do your job. Let's clean that off because it's causing me trouble. Alright. So now with a big blob, should I bother? I guess I should bother. Oh, this is annoying. First, let's heat up this side if we can. There we go. Alright, there we go. That worked alright. If we can get the same thing to happen to this other side, we're golden. Let's cut our other length of heat shrink. This one's a little bit shorter than the other. A little bit, which is good. Let's get that pulled down. I really wish we had some 3 gauge. That would probably work better, but this might be okay. Okay, heat this side up first. Alright, that looks good. A lot faster with a little bit of extra solder on there. Let's center our heat shrink. Turn on our hot air. Up our heat airflow a little bit. See what we get going. Yeah, it's looking alright. That may actually be the appropriate thickness, or diameter rather, of heat shrink, because it seems to be shrinking down on there rather nicely once we get all the sides equally heated. Yeah, it seems okay. Alright, 4 for the win. It might be a little bit looser than I had hoped, though. A 3 probably still would have been better. But 4 seems to have done it. Okay, that looks alright. Feels nice and warm. I'm pretty sure it's heated up as much as it's going to do. Okay, let's take a quick break, and I'll be right back.